now. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, hello. This is Ignacy Trzewiczek from Portal Games.
And Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Now, Dice Tower Dish Above Board.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 297. And we are recording this on December 7th, 2023. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And Tom Vassell has invited me to come to Dice Tower Studios to be on the Winter Spectacular from Monday to Wednesday, December 11th to 13th. So right after this drops. So I hope you're going to come and watch it. But I'm wondering, has Tom been drinking or something? All I can say is, I'm back. Gentlemen, how are you all?
Good. Doing good. Tired.
Tired?
A lot of travel.
Why would you be tired now, Corey? Come on.
Just got back from PAX Unplugged over in Philadelphia, which living in California, it's a little bit of a long trip. So I'm starting to get back into a normal routine. PAX happened right after BGG Con. I've been traveling cons like crazy, and now it's going to be weeks until my next thing. Man. So I've got ShilohCon at my house happening over New Year's. There's going to be a Toronto game designer get together the second week of January. So I've got a little while, but I had an absolutely fantastic time at PAX. I have to give a shout out to the big gay dinner put on by the Rose Gauntlet Foundation. Such an amazing group of people. Everybody I bumped into had something interesting to talk about, great backgrounds into the industry. I finally got to meet one of my Grail designers that I wanted to just thank and sit down and talk to is Nikki Valens, who designed Legacy of Dragonholt, Quirky Circuits, Descent, several of those. And Nikki was amazing. So it was just really fun being there. Great food, great people. It just was a high point of PAX for me.
PAX was great. I'll get to my piece of experience and some numbers on PAX in a little bit. Ignacy, why don't you tell us about Portal Games? You haven't been here in a while, but I know the reason, obviously, busy trying to, create the next greatest, game company in the world. So
Yes,
what's going on?
Yeah, sure. Starting with some Slavic news. I was also at convention, Allegramy, which is one of the biggest conventions in Poland, and I got COVID. So this is my story.
Oh, that's just terrible. Sorry.
But of course, I'm back, and it was not that terrible. On the front of Portal Games, important news for our fans, obviously. As you guys know, we released it as an Imperial Miners, which was very successful for us release. I mentioned that last time I was here, 12 language editions. We already are signing new editions. I cannot spoil yet which countries, but there will be more than 12, which makes me very, very proud. And Tim Armstrong, designer, is very happy how the game is received. And we continue to support the game with free expansions that we publish on our website. So if you go to our website, portalgamesus.com, you will get a free scenario. We publish it for Halloween. You just print one page on your printer and you have a solo scenario dedicated to the game. And spoiler alert, our team is preparing a Christmas gift for you. It will be another solo scenario for you. So we continue to give free updates for the game so you can enjoy it. On terms of the no free updates, we have a new army in our Neuroshima Hex app. I guess Steven is already tired with me mentioning Neuroshima Hex for the past 10 years because we continue to support these games since 2007. And this last week, we released another army to the app. And I mentioned this in the podcast already as well. This is the first time we do something experimental. This is exclusive army only for the app. So it will be not released in the form of the cardboard. And this is because the design is super interesting, super revolutionary, but it is quite fiddly. And playing with the tokens to mark all the traps and hidden information will be difficult, but with the help of the app, it is smooth and nice, and we can try something new in the system of Neuroshima Hex. So if you play Neuroshima Hex, and I know many of our listeners have this app on their phones or tablets, the new army just released is called Partisans, and it is a completely new concept for Neuroshima Hex. You will be putting on the board traps face down and surprise the enemy with surprises on the board. Besides that, of course, we are preparing for, Steven knows this story over the years, we are preparing for PortalCon as every year. January is around the corner, and in January, Portal Games always held a big event here in Poland. So we are preparing for this event. And from January, we will start announcing new releases from Portal Games for the next year. We have a couple of great games prepared already. So I'm very happy to start being part of this podcast in January, because I'll be able to talk about the new releases and the new titles that we have for you. And if I can share one personal note, yesterday we did here in Poland a charity live stream. I do it once a year here to celebrate Christmas, and we gathered over 10,000 Polish zloty for charity.
Awesome.
We were doing it 4 hours, crazy live stream, auctioning games and unique items and part of prototype from my games and all crazy stuff. And for 4 hours, we have people in the live stream just bidding in the chat. It was absolutely crazy. And the 10,000 Polish zloty was transferred to the charity. So that was what I was doing in my personal time. So basically, I'm done with COVID. I'm done with releases for this year, because everything is released, and we are preparing for the next year for the new titles.
That is cool.
That is fantastic, my friend. My friend, it is fantastic. One of the things I'm going to be doing over at the Winter Spectacular is, again, Tom is crazy. He asked me to do my top 10 of 2023, and spoiler alert, Imperial Miners will be on my top 10.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It is really. I'm not doing it because I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it in despite of you.
Yeah,
so it's really, really good. So.
I actually got to hang out with Tim Armstrong at
PAX. Oh, I envy you. That's cool. I never met him in person. Oh my god.
He was so amazing. We really hit it off. I had great conversations. So
I'm very happy to hear that.
Great guy.
Cool.
Designer of Imperial Miners.
Very, very cool. And over here at the Podfather of Gaming, The Quad, episode 8 did drop. Please go over and check it out. This is the episode with Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules. He's just a fun, funny, nice British guy. So go check that out. Our topic was best games ranked 1,000 or more. So the games that need more love on BGG. And you can look for that right there on the front page of Board Game Geek, or you can go over to the Board Game Geek YouTube channel and subscribe there and check it out. And after you go to the Podfather, of course, channel, then you can go there too. What else do we have here? Oh, so we talked about PAX a little. I'm going to add a little more color to that and a couple of things that that did happen there. First, I have it from sources that the number of attendees was in, I know people are going to question this, of course, but it was in the low 30,000s. People were saying it's 40,000, it's 45,000. But let me tell you, even if it was, let's just say 33,000, that's 10% more than it was last year. And 10% on a huge convention is still a big increase. It felt, let me tell you, it felt like it was 40,000. Corey, yeah. I mean, right? It was packed everywhere.
I had a couple different people tell me it was about 37,000, but if you have a more exact source, I don't have it straight from the convention. Or anything.
Yeah, and the convention will not release any numbers. That's just their thing. I don't understand that. I think that's always a good thing to do, especially because it makes people say, "Oh my gosh, this is a convention that I have to get to because it's getting so big," right?
Oh yeah.
I know that Gen Con had significant staff there. And I will let you read between the lines on why Gen Con in the middle of the winter would have sent to Philadelphia, which was only moderately cold. It wasn't as cold as Ignacy's pictures from Poland. I saw those. Why they would have sent people, because they're interested in seeing what this convention is doing. And what it is doing is great. It really is. I had a great time, Corey. You did as well, as you said.
I will say that I'm pretty good friends with a lot of the people in the event staff for Gen Con, and they do tend to go to a lot of other conventions. And they learn and they compare notes and they say, what are they doing that works and what are they doing that don't? So it was nice to see all those at PAX.
Yes, absolutely. And what did I do there besides get crowded? And I stayed out of the exhibit hall most of the time. I was there. I did a full run the first day because, see some people. I didn't get to see everybody. I never really went back in deeply. So I apologize to people I didn't get to see there. But I just gamed a lot, ate too much with Corey, and gamed just all the time. Kabanga by Amigo Games. I'm going to give them another shout out. It's a Gen Con 2024 release. It's already out in Germany. Still impresses as a filler game for up to 6 players. I think you're going to be hearing more about that Spiel des Jahres type of game nominee, I bet. Karen, I'm just going to mention that part of her name. This woman named Karen came up to me, and I held it together because a very emotional meeting.
Softie.
It was a very emotional meeting. She just said how much I've done for her, which is so nice to hear, and specifically with donating to Extra Life, which is the Children's Hospital charity. And I've been doing that for a long time, for her and for many others, but I'd never met her before, and she came up. So I held it together, and I'm trying to do it now. It was a beautiful meeting. Thank you, Karen. I mentioned the Dice Tower Winter Spectacular. Please tune in. And if you miss like the first couple days, because this will drop on the Wednesday, the last day, go back and watch it. I'll be on all those days. One of the things we're going to be doing very specifically is we're going to be talking about the World Series of Board Gaming. It's a paid question and answer that John Hagmeyer, who's the CEO, he's the chairman of the board for the World Series of Board Gaming, and myself and Tom, who loves it. We're going to be doing a little spiel about what it's about exactly and how you can be there. And of course, taking Q&A from people live. So check it out. Again, if you don't see it live, then come back and go to the Dice Tower YouTube channel and check it out. Besides that, I have 4 weeks at home. This is the longest stretch at home. 40 days, actually. Paula just told me because, on the app, the United app tells us when's our next flight. It's 40 days from today. So, which is pretty funny. That's the longest stretch I'm at home since this early in the second quarter, probably of 2023. So, hey, relaxation. Maybe I'll go in the pool as you guys freeze your butts off. All right. Meanwhile, let's get over to the event deck. All right. So the first thing we have on here is some very interesting information about Mayfair Games. Now, most people will remember Mayfair Games, right, as the company that had Catan in their catalog, did a lot of train games. And we mentioned here on the podcast about 2-3 months ago that the brand name of Mayfair was bought by a company, and I don't remember that company's name. I know
Webbed Sphere.
Webbed Sphere. Thank you, Corey. I knew that he remembered. But now it has been repurchased. Corey, you know a lot, and you talked to our good friend Sean Brown, who now owns the Mayfair game logo and title. Go for it.
Spoilers.
Spoiler.
So Mayfair, of course, is one of the most foundational games in our hobby, at least in the hobby side of board games. They originally founded in 1981. And like you said, they had Catan. In 2016, Asmodee bought Catan from Mayfair. Didn't buy Mayfair, bought Catan and formed a Catan division over at Asmodee. And in fact, in 2018, Asmodee went ahead and bought all of the rest of the assets that Mayfair owned. So Mayfair was an empty company and still existed, but wasn't a functional company. Years went by, there was some other transfers, and the most recent thing, Sean Brown, who is the founder and owner of Mr. B Games, did a neat exchange where Mayfair purchased Mr. B Games, Sean purchased half of Mayfair. So now Sean Brown is president of Mayfair Games, and what I'm really impressed with is Sean has an absolute passion and love for Mayfair, the history, the old titles. He went out and contacted the Bromley family, the original designers and owners, Larry Resnick, the original president of Mayfair.
Larry
He
Rosny.
contacted Rosny, I'm sorry, I fumbled over it.
It's okay.
And basically contacted all of the original people. The Darwin family did a lot of the design and a lot of the foundation stuff, and so he got in touch with Darwin Toys, and he's working on getting all of the Mayfair assets back and bringing back Mayfair. And the official press release announces that the first title coming, and it's coming soon, is going to be in the Empire Builder series of train games. It's based on the game Euro Rails, which I believe came out in 90, and it's going to be called Empire Builder Europe. So that's coming out in the new year, with a little modernization and a little better components and things like that, but it's going to be the first of many. The other little teaser thing in there is Mayfair also owns Flying Buffalo games. So they're going to be bringing back classics like Ace of Aces, Nuclear War, a lot of these old school games. So we're going to look for a lot of the old school foundational, really cool games we haven't seen in a long time coming out of Mayfair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing these games, back in print, modern quality components. I love the crayon games. I love those Mayfair train games. So, these are, and I don't have them at the moment in my collection. I think that they got weeded or they went to some, I'm not sure where they went over time.
Yeah, Sean says they're all coming back at a rate of 1 to 2 a year.
That is very, very cool. Good luck to Sean Brown and his new company purchase of Mayfair Games. So the next one's a very interesting news article. It's more of a commentary from Cool Stuff. The owner of Cool Stuff discussed how Amazon pushed them out of the market, which I found to be a very, very interesting way of putting it, right? Corey, why don't you take this first, if you don't mind?
Not at all. It's an interesting article. So Cool Stuff Inc. for a very long time was kind of the leader in online board game sales. They've been around forever. But they announced not that long ago that they're not going to be selling board games anymore. They're going to be just selling trading cards and focusing on their distribution side, which is Quartermaster Logistics. Basically, the article has a lot of interviews with different owners of large companies talking about dealing with Amazon and what Amazon does and what Amazon doesn't do. But Jerry Sunkin, who is the owner of Cool Stuff, is kind of the spotlight on this article. This article is on Board Game Wire, which is a really nice news outlet. But Jerry Sunkin says that anytime they would put a sale or do something like that, Amazon would purposely undercut them no matter what it was. And they would test the market by putting sale prices up that were really strange numbers. They'd pick some bizarre price amount, and within hours, Amazon would have it for the same or a penny lower. So they could see that everybody knows there's automated software programming within Amazon that looks at the competition and matches accordingly. And there's some lawsuits and FTC filings going on in the past year against Amazon for monopoly type and bad trade. So it's an interesting review article where we talk about what it's like to try to have an online store in the face of someone as competitive and as large as Amazon.
And yeah, and it was in my opinion, a very sad day when Cool Stuff exited the market. And I know Jerry well from me going up and seeing him as being such a big retailer. It's they're gone. but they're not going to be forgotten anytime soon. Funny thing about this, I thought it was like a miniatures market that more forced them out of the selling of board games, but they're saying absolutely it was Amazon who did this, because Amazon's got the called AI to watch what was going on the other websites and immediately react to their pricing. So
well, and there's a well-documented history of Amazon reducing prices even to the point of taking a loss in order to drive someone else out of the market.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one is interesting. It's about Reed Pop selling or trying to sell their digital side, including Dicebreaker, which is where we get quite a bit of our news. Now, Reed Pop is the owner of events, including PAX Unplugged and a host of gaming websites, including Dicebreaker. And they're looking at selling their digital business. That includes Dicebreaker, as well as our video game sibling sites, Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, VG247, and GamesIndustry.biz, which is another one that we scrape news from as well. And I it's a very interesting thing that very few people even know the name Reed Pop, that they are the ones who run all the PAX shows, right? So they're a big event organization. They do PAX Unplugged, which is much smaller actually than their PAX Prime out on the West Coast, their PAX East, and those are digital conventions. They're only for digital gaming, and they have a small component of tabletop stuff. So now all of the stuff that they have online, they seem to be wanting to get rid of. And I didn't glean from this article, I don't know if you did, Corey or Ignacy, if you read it, why they would be doing this. It's just that they want to be out of this business.
The word on the inside is that Reed Pop is very much a video game oriented company, and Dicebreaker was started a while ago as an outlet to get into board gaming, and I don't think the interest is there. I think their focus really is on video games. So getting out of Dicebreaker, I think, is trying to focus more on video games, and digital journalism just isn't paying off well. Digital news websites aren't the easiest to run and the easiest to maintain. So I don't think it's an unexpected thing.
This is just a small article that Gray Matter Games has inked an exclusive distribution agreement with Asmodee USA. They're mostly a party game company, and not that they're significant in the industry. They have games like Ya Betcha, The Game of Wolf, Root Beer Float Challenge, and Ridiculous Exposition. So none of these games are going to be probably in many of our collections. However, the fact is Asmodee continues to change the face of distribution for the US market. And that's sort of the part that I wanted to get out by adding this in there. We also now have the fact that Disney Lorcana, the hype is not going to slow down. And we predicted that, actually. We talked about that, at least I was saying, and I think you guys were saying it too, that this was not going to be like a one and done kind of thing. This was going to go on based on how much interest there was with Lorcana. They're now launching their third set, Corey?
Yeah, this is the third set. There was the original one was just Lorcana. The second one was Floodborne. The third set, what was it? It's Ink. I've just lost the word. So the third set has just been announced, but there's been such a ridiculous swarm to try to buy these sets. They've crashed servers. We talked last week about the fact that there was a DDoS attack on the servers. So Amazon is going to run their first digital queue for a trading card game or board game. And this is going to be similar to what they did for the PlayStation 5 launch, where you can get in line in the queue and it'll digitally maintain it to try to avoid this absolute riot during the launch.
Wow. Well, again, we're not going to hear the end of Disney Lorcana for a long, long time. And in the meantime, let's go over to strategy and tactics. All right, Paul Marchbanks, good friend of the show, certainly friend of Ignacy as well. He's at the Dicey Review. Man, my last question was before the contest started, so here goes my contest question. I'm a songwriter. I find that sometimes I'm struck with an idea that inspires me, or I feel a certain emotion, and a song kind of writes itself, so to speak. He sounds like Paul McCartney. McCartney used to talk like that. It's just like he's just a dream in music. It's astonishing. It feels easy. Some of my best songs were written that way. As people who make things, games, video content, podcasts, skits, is number one, is creativity hard for you? Two, what inspires you, or what strategies do you use to get into the creative mindset? Three, for Ignacy specifically, was there ever a game that that had just designed itself, so to speak, where you were so inspired that the design just felt easy? Ignacy, why, since he mentioned you specifically in number three there, why don't you take this first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm sorry to disappoint, but the answer is there is no rule. Of course, there are all different situations when you're designing games. The famous story that I said in many interviews, I will not repeat it right now, just note it, was with 51st State, my famous card game that I designed just on a way going from work to my home, which is like a 20 minutes drive, and the game was ready, and it was like that. It was ready, and I didn't need to play test it more. It was like literally done in 20 minutes. And for other games like a detective, you work and work and work, and you struggle and you rewrite and you rethink. So in most cases, it is easy to be creative. We as a designers, we come with the ideas on the spot, another idea, another idea, another idea. I see 51st State in the screen. And
It's still in my office.
But these ideas are great, but doesn't work. So you come with a new idea, and this new idea is great, but doesn't work. So basically, designing is a craft, is a game of time. You just come with a ton of ideas because you, as a designer, are a creative person, but to make it work together, to make it as a one big system, as a big engine of the board game, you need to drop 95% of your great ideas and keep the 5% that will work. So creativity is easy. Creativity that makes sense in this particular environment, in this particular game, of course, is a months of struggle and frustration, and not that easy.
So you said, if I may, that like a game like 51st State did just design itself, but
yep.
Most games you do it and you got throw it out, do it, throw it out, and you just keep iterating. Right.
Yep.
I would say that for me, this podcast, I know guys out there, you love it, you love what we do, but it's pretty easy for us to put together. So that's this is a creative outlet. But when I'm talking creative, I'm talking about like, generating real ideas. So I find creativity extremely difficult. When I got to do something that requires me to create, I lock myself away. Some of my most quick creative moments would be like doing what amounted to some improv comedy, but not improv comedy. Just like I was with some people and it was just one of those like boom, boom. And we were just going off on some funny stuff. Did this recently with Camilla from the Dice Tower over at the World Series of Board Gaming. And for whatever reason, we just got into this roll. There might have been some beers involved at the free bar that was there. But we just got on this roll that like we were just going back and forth. And like people were looking at us like, you guys are crazy. But it really was fun. When you have a chemistry and a friendship with people, sometimes it just rolls off the tongue. But for me, really, no, creativity is hard. It's like math. It's hard. Corey, anything to add to that?
There's if you look it up, there's a really wonderful video of John Cleese talking about how to be creative. It actually was a talk he did for a business, but you can find it on YouTube. And he talks about the necessities of setting aside time, setting aside a minimum amount of time, reducing distractions, letting yourself enter what's called the flow state, where you don't realize time has passed and you become very efficient. rather than fighting against the creativity, you work with it. So for me, it's basically scheduling a time, making sure there's enough time, and trying to reduce any distractions during that time.
Jeff McDonald from Canada, he's at M_Jeff. Question for Ignacy. I have listened to every episode right from the beginning. At the very beginning, Ignacy did not enjoy doing the business news section. Now he seems more into it and even adding content. Ignacy, what happened? What's changed? Was there a particular time you became interested? Was it just the repetition from doing it so many episodes weekly that it wore you down? Is it because Bonacor's influence on you is so amazing? Okay, I added that part. But go ahead, Ignacy. This one's all on you.
Yeah, of course. Part of the real answer is that, of course, here for the podcast, from the very beginning, I don't know if this is the right English word for that, but we created sort of the personas, Steven and Ignacy. We differ. Ignacy is introvert and doesn't like business. Steven is extrovert and loves business. So, of course, we are maybe highlighting a bit too much of our features. So, obviously, if we can discuss designing games and business, obviously, I prefer designing games because this is that I love. This is my passion. But obviously, I run 3 companies over 2 continents. So yes, sometimes I need to do the business, and I was pretty successful over the time. So yeah, when we discuss, when we do podcasting, when we talk, I definitely prefer to talk about games and game design instead of stock market of Simon games in Thailand or whatever they are. But on the other hand, sometimes when you need to run a company, I do some business and talk some business. But in most cases, in my office with my employees, not in
There
the
you
podcast.
go. And Jeff McDonald continues with a question for me. He goes, hi, Stephen. Did your career as a board game publisher, how did your career as a board game publisher compare to your past career in the financial services industry in IT, which is corporate America? Did you find running your own business more stressful? Which career made you feel more accomplished? What were the pros and cons of both careers? Well, Jeff, very simply, yes. I felt much more accomplished running my own business by far. I mean, it's such an amazing feeling to create. That's not creativity exactly, but to produce, let's say, use it that way, to produce a game that then is sold and it's successful and it works and you repeat and you repeat and you go out and you meet people. No offense to all of my friends in corporate America, and certainly, not to the people that I worked with, because they were really excellent people. I mean, it's amazing technologists I worked with over the years, and also people on the business side, just great, smart people. But it's much less fulfilling to be working in corporate America. I'm sure that if you get to a certain level, when you're managing divisions, of people, hundreds, thousands of people, you could get very fulfilled in doing so. And make lots of money doing so. I did well, but nothing compares to doing what I did in the board game industry. I can't list pros and cons of both, but the major con is that, in general, is that if you can't be successful on any side, this is a problem, right? If I couldn't be successful the way that I grew my career in IT, I wouldn't have been able to do this, and I would have struggled. Then and vice versa. If you start your own business, and you're not successful, that's just a con. There's no backstop, especially when you're running your own business. In the corporate world, if it didn't work out here, you can go someplace else probably and bring your skill set. Great question. Thank you for letting me give a little bit more of my background there. Peter Haraldson from Sweden. He's at Pops. Probably mostly directed to Ignacy, since Steven's answer is pretty given. Which is most important to you to be mentioned as a content creator talking about a game? The designer or publisher? Which is more important to you to be mentioned by a content creator when they're talking about a game? As the designer or as the publisher? Ignacy?
Very, very interesting question. It's a tricky one. I feel that I am a Portal Games. So if somebody talks about the Portal Games, I feel that they are talking about me. And the great example from the past months is the success of Imperial Miners. I feel it like this is my game. Even though this is Tim Armstrong, he designed the game. I didn't design this game, but I feel so proud that we published the game. I'm so proud that we developed the game, did the artwork, did the promotion, that every content creator that talks about this game, I feel like they are praising me, even though this is Tim Armstrong design. So I definitely feel if somebody is talking about the Portal games, I feel that they are praising my work and my team. And if I can give some insight from the past, I think I never said it in any interviews. Back then, we are talking about 2012, the release of Robinson Crusoe. It was released by Z-Man Games. Our friend Zev was doing the Robinson Crusoe. And Robinson Crusoe, as we know, won a ton of different awards. And it really bothered me, and I'm serious, it really bothered me that in all press releases and announcement was Robinson Crusoe by Z-Man Games. And I was like, no, this is Portal Games, this is we did the game, this is we did the artwork, we did development. And hence the whole decision of me and my company that we will no longer license games to the American publishers, and that I need to build my own brand, that I need to sign my own deals with distribution and stop licensing games, because I couldn't stand that is Robinson Crusoe by Z-Man Games. So yes, Portal Games is my brand, and whether there is a other designer or me, I'm happy if somebody talks about the Portal Games. I don't need Ceviche being mentioned whatsoever.
Wow. Okay. And you know, obviously for me, it's about being the publisher that I was, of course. But I am very excited about my designed game, of course, too. Very excited to see that come out and you know, have the name on the box. That's going to be interesting when it happens in 25 or 26. We'll see. Thank you, Peter. I think we can take at least one more. Jeff McDonald again. He says, hi, Corey. Hey, everyone's getting questions here. Sorry to say this, but I have not heard of you prior to you joining the Board Games Insider podcast. It sounded like you have made many contributions to the community. Thank you. I have some get to know you questions. First one, what was your entry game into the board game hobby? Since it's been some time since you started in the hobby, how many games are in your collection? Get ready for this, Jeff. Roughly, if you don't know, how many plays do you get in per year?
Wow.
Corey, tell us a little bit about, you know,
all right,
your stuff.
Entry into the board game hobby. I have been playing board games as long as I can remember. So my entry into the hobby was probably in the 1970s. And we're going to talk about Dungeon, the board game, Dungeons and Dragons, even the 3M and the TSR micro games, Avalon Hill games, Freedom in the Galaxy was a big one. So it's pretty early. How many are in my collection? It's roughly about 3,000 games in my collection. And I actually have my house set up as a board game convention space, and companies will sometimes have retreats at the house and play games. So too many. That's the answer. Too many.
Corey, Corey has a serious house in just outside of Napa Valley. And the fact that you host all of these events there is really nice of you. First of all, that you open up your home to people. I've been there once. I haven't been invited in a long time. Maybe something I did while I was there last time.
As you were there once.
But it really is great that you do that. And thank you for it.
And I do a lot of work in board game news and learning about new games. So how many plays do I get a year? It's quite a few. I go to a lot of conventions. So I do track my plays on BG Stats, which I have to say is one of the best apps I've ever purchased. And I log probably about 800 plays a year.
Nice. Just
I want to make a comment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because board game market in Poland is much younger than in America. We talk about this many times, that you guys had your board games in 70s. We had Russian tanks. Everybody knows the story. So in Polish market, I'm here in Polish market, like a founder of the board gaming, like I'm this guy who started everything, who is this old guy, and everybody in my market in Poland is younger than me. I'm the old guy for people here. And then I hear Corey talking that he played board games since 70s. I was not born in 70s yet. I record podcast with Steven who played the vampire in 80s or 90s. I was in a kindergarten back then. And it's so confusing for me that here in Poland, I'm this old dude who started everything. And then I talk with my American friends and I'm this kid compared to them. And it was my comment. I love you guys.
Oh, that's great. For the record, I've been playing games A, since I'm a child in the 60s,
Yeah.
and B,
Oh my God.
and B throughout the 70s, of course, including, that's when I got into D&D and role-playing too, and board games and everything. So
This is so cool.
it's great. It's great to have many generations here or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's get over now to playtesting. So playtesting here last week, Paula, my lovely girlfriend, who was with us off to the side as Corey and I were recording together in my hotel room at PAX. She gave us the question, and she did like before Corey even got there. And I said, I need a question. She just gave me the question. It was great. So we used it. Conventions have become more and more like geek spectaculars over the years. Conventions have continued to add events that spark the interest of the general geek versus just gaming events. So what new and exciting event would you like to see at an upcoming game convention? Examples. Gen Con has events for knitting and sewing, magic shows, and much more. The World Series of Board Gaming now has nightly entertainment like comedy shows, Play with a Celebrity, and second chance tournaments. Gentlemen, did any of the answers that you saw here, we didn't get a lot of answers this time, but we got about a dozen.
It's a really interesting, it's a really interesting question because all of the answers are so different. There's no summary you can really put in here because it's such an open-ended thing. But I was drawn to Ann W., who answered, I would love the idea of themed play areas that would focus on a theme like pirates, high society, trading in the Mediterranean, whatever, and have matching game library decorations, food, drink. Not a big cosplay, but that would be encouraged. So she also says the Voodoo Ranger Lounge at PAX U is a little bit like what I'm picturing. I've also seen that there is a train game society that will set up areas for play with their own library at BGG and a couple other conventions. So I love this idea of a themed play area.
Yeah, and there's been in the past, not themed play like with decorations, but like there's been tracks at conventions that they called it the Puffing Billy area where you'd play all train games. Puffing Billy was a famous train, I think, in U.S. history or English history or something. But Ignacy or anybody else have any other ones they want to point out? I have a couple here.
I want to answer the question because I was not at the show. But
well, I don't want your.
I can answer.
I don't want your answer. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I have a great answer. So I will tell you what we are doing at PortalCon because I think this is an interesting part of the convention. We created a chill zone where we invite our special guests like Michael Oracz, designer of Neuroshima Hex, Tomasz Jędruszek, illustrator for Game of Thrones. Like we have special guests, but we don't do like a regular seminar. This hour you can ask questions, but we say this place where our guests will be just drinking coffee, having some cookies, and just talking with you casually. And you can drop at this section of the convention at any point of the day. And there'll be some of our guests just chilling out, and you can ask them any questions, talk about whatever you want. And this is very cool for everyone who is extrovert and is not scared of talking to other people. And this section is very popular. And these guests come and go away. And there's always somebody that you can just interact and talk and get to autograph. And so this is a different approach to meeting a guest at a convention. Not a particular hour, but just a section. You can go drink a tea with them, have a cookie and talk.
Only the things you like to do.
Sounds great.
I got it. I do like that idea. Chris Dennett probably has my favorite answer. I'm not 100% sure if he's serious, but it's a great one. And I just came up in my head with the way this would run. He says Stephen Bonacour's War of the Ring charity tournament. I love this. So like we can have people playing War of the Ring and the longer the game goes, the less money goes to charity, so that you got to play fast so that you can donate the most money to charity. I like that. So it's like none of this AP 5-hour War of the Ring games. No, I play that game in 2.5 hours, get it done, donate a lot of money to charity. I love that one.
You can set up a chess clock. I love that.
Why not? Why not? Evan Halbert, he says, I don't need anything extra. I enjoy getting together with friends and playing some games. BGG is an example of one of my favorite conventions. And I agree with you, Evan. Sometimes it is just nice when all you have is the con. You even have the food like stands like right there, so you don't have to go outside and stuff like that. I kind of miss that at PAX, but BGG Con, they set up the food at the hotel, and it's not that bad. So it's like, yeah, for $10, you get a sandwich, you get a soda, and you just keep gaming. Thank you, everybody.
Bez, who is absolutely an incredible board game designer, Bez Shahriari, and I apologize if I butchered the last name. A lot of good ideas just shotgunned out here. More in-character taverns for those who like to cosplay and roleplay. Mega games, not just mega games, but mega versions of multiplayer solitaire games like Number, Take It Easy, Mini Muckle, which is one of Bez's. And the one that I really thought was interesting here, speed friending, for folk to play quick, short games with a variety of other people. That's a really neat idea. A lot of conventions have speed publishers where they match publishers and designers in these 2 to 5 minute rotate the tables, kind of like a speed dating forum. I like the idea of speed friending. More newbie friendly tournaments. It's just a lot of fantastic ideas.
I love that idea, in fact.
Yeah.
Wow.
Get a really quick game and you just play with a variety of new people. That's
everybody brings a game that definitely can't last more than 15 minutes, let's say. And you play a couple of rounds or whatever the case may be for the game, like Kabanga, which I'm going to continue to be mentioning over the next year. It's so good. And you get to meet everybody and you see if you can get together later on and stuff like that. That is a very cool idea. Thank you, Bez, for that. Corey, you gave us this week's question, and I love this question because this is like a religious question. People, the way they want to do this. Tell us.
People are going to fight.
Yes.
So
this is the most serious question in the history of the podcast.
It is very.
It might be.
Yes. So, how do you store your board games? And there's a lot of aspects to this. Do you store horizontally or vertically? Do you store them alphabetically, by designer, by color? And do you keep expansion boxes intact and in the shelves, or do you integrate them in and throw away the boxes? That one, I've seen fist fights over that one. So just how do you store your games?
I'll go first because I've got some strong opinions on this. Let me tell you, anybody who doesn't listen to this advice is crazy. No, it's not true. I store my games vertically, like a book. Right? No, stop. Will you just stop? If you've got appropriate shelving, Calex, Billy's, maybe.
This is it.
Go. You know what? Get rid of the intern. We'll keep going. Anyway, I do it like a book in my Calex shelf, so they're all vertical. I do them after that, though. It's kind of a mix on how I do it. And I really do need a complete reorg after that. I have some stuff by company. I have like a whole Portal game section. I have a Stronghold game section, of course, for various reasons. I do some by designer. So like I have my Martin Wallace like collection. I was part of like the Tree Frog subscription service that he had. So I have a full like a stripe of Calex. I have the 5x5, so 5 cubicles of Martin Wallace plus one more. And then I have like a heavy Euro section and a party game section. So I've done a mix of stuff, and in general, I'm gonna keep a lot of that when I do a reorg, but I need a major to-do reorg.
No. Vertical games, they get damaged. They warp. The boards will bend. Pieces will settle in the bottom. So horizontal storage. Horizontal storage.
Ignacy, break the tie here.
Game boards in the bottom of the box, components on top of the game boards, rule book on top of everything. So when you open it, you can immediately read the rule book.
Yes, Mr. OCD. Ignacy, please.
Horizontal storage grouped by designer when designer is appropriate, otherwise by theme. And if, for example, you have about 3,000 games, then you have a co-op section, a more than 5-player section, a 2-player and solo section, and a wall of Kallaxes with a rolling library ladder.
Okay, bragging can
throw
end
that
right
out
now.
there.
That's what he does. He has a rolling library ladder with a wall of Kallax. Yes, he does. Ignacy, help me. What do you got?
I see that Corey nickname in this Zoom window is Corey better than Steven Thompson. And I have to say, that he's right because I keep my games horizontal.
Yep.
Wow.
It doesn't damage the game.
I'll just get another one. Oh,
Actually, it actually damages the box if the game upper
Yeah.
is
Cave
heavier.
in.
Yes,
Now,
it is. But
what
I don't care. I
you
don't
get a
care.
rolling dowel system so that each game is not sitting on the game below it, but it's sitting on the dowels and they'll roll out and it maintains an empty space.
Yeah, because I need to spend thousands of dollars to have rolling dowels as part of my collection. No. Anyway, this is a controversial, maybe the most important playtesting question we've ever asked our audience. So please, Ignacy, right now, if he remembers how to do this, Ignacy is going to create playtesting 297. By the way, I have to do this because Corey still hasn't figured out how to post when you're not around, Ignacy. He's going to create playtesting 297, and we're going to ask you, how do you store your games? And do it any way that you do it, because we've given you some ideas here, but, they could be like slanted. They could be by color, right? We actually mentioned color. That's a crazy one.
A lot of people do that.
Color. I mean, it's pretty that way, but
yeah.
No. Okay. Ignacy's doing that, posting in the guild. Go over there and answer our question, and maybe we'll take your answer on the next show. In the meantime, the final scoring. Thank you so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or you can now watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of the podcast, you can. Just ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment by posting them in the correct thread in our guild on Board Game Geek, and also answer our question to you from the playtesting segment by going to our guild on Board Game Geek and looking for the thread with this episode's question. Check out our websites. It's portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, dicetowerdish.com, and we're all over social media, so interact with us, please. On Facebook, please like our pages, /BoardGamesInsider, /PortalGamesUS, and /PodfatherGaming. You can interact directly with Ignacy, Corey, and Steven on Twitter and Instagram. It's @PortalGamesUS, @PodfatherGaming, @DicetowerDish, and @DicetowerNow. And the very active YouTube channels are Portal Games Movies, The Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV. On TikTok, Ignacy's there at Portal Games US. We'd really love to see you in person at an upcoming 2024 convention. I can change that in my show notes now. So please come up to us, chat with us if you see us, take a selfie with us. We love seeing our friends and fans from this show. Board Games Insider, professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want your podcast edited by Joshua, you can reach out to him at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And that great voice you hear doing our intro, outro, and in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Ray and I gamed a little bit at PAX Unplugged. Got to see him. I get to see him once a year now when I go to PAX. He's such a good guy. Yeah, he's such a good guy. Didn't see Joshua. Joshua's normally here, but he didn't tell me he was going, so maybe he didn't go. Gentlemen, anything you'd like to mention now at the end of the show? I have something that I wrote there. May I?
Well, I guess we'll let you talk this time.
It's official, everybody. We will do a special 300th episode show live on Zoom. So watch out for us advertising how we're going to do that. And the link to join us, we'll have Ignacy, Corey, Steven. We'll probably have Paula and Mary there so that they can direct questions and make sure people aren't talking on top of each other. They'll be the moderators to the nonsense that might ensue. And we'll take questions from everybody out there, of course, who's there, and maybe have a drink with you if it's way too early, I think. So we have to figure out a time for all this that works for everybody. Hopefully Ignacy can do this a little later so that Corey is not up at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time doing this.
I will do any time.
I know you will. You're a very good guy. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you in a week.
Thank you.
See you later, everyone.